Sure. Well, welcome everybody to episode 5 of the Next Gen Retics podcast. We're excited to have everybody come on. We've got some new faces, we've got some familiar faces as well. Dylan's been on already before, so Dylan, welcome back. We've
Good
got
to be back.
Caleb. We got Caleb coming on, who's kind of a newer face in the community. So excited to get to know him. And then we have Darren from the UK. So welcome, Darren.
Thank you.
Welcome everybody. We're excited to kind of get into some things. So I kind of came up with some individual questions for each of you guys. And we can kind of just go through and cycle through some of these. But once again, I just want to kind of spread the message of what the purpose of this podcast really is. And it's to bring the Retic community together, number one. But number two, it's to give anybody and everybody a platform to come on. If they're keepers, breeders, whatever. So if you're interested in coming on, shoot me a DM at Coiled Retics on Instagram or Facebook, and we'd love to have you guys come on. So, with that being said, let's go around the horn first. Just give like a quick 2 minute intro of who you are, your business name or your branding name, and we'll go from there. So, Darren, we'll start with you.
Well, I'm Darren. I live in the southwest of the UK, which isn't a hotbed for anything, let alone big snakes. I think there's one other keeper I know of in the area. Most of the good guys are up north. I've been keeping, well, I've had a bit of fractured journey with snakes. I got into snakes 2002, 2003, kept berms, carpet pythons, stuff like that. I had some massive berms. And unfortunately, 2017, when my collection was at its biggest, I got diagnosed with cancer. I didn't know how I was going to go. So I always said I'd never sell any of my snakes. And I had a lot of snakes. And I gave them all to people I trusted. And luckily, the cancer went well. I didn't know how I was going to go. I've got through that. And then a couple of years ago, I just thought to myself, right, I want snakes again. And my wife was like, oh, no, not again. And 18 months ago, I started again. And I think I'm up to 15 berms now. I've got a mixture of mainlands, dwarf variants, and super dwarfs.
Awesome. And Darren, your last name is Mark. You go by Darren
Yep.
Mark on
Yes.
Facebook and Instagram and everything else. And
Yep.
I just want to point out too, you're one of the more active individuals on social media, and you're really
Yep.
positive. You have a really positive influence and impact. And so I just want to thank you. I know you're not, I think a majority of the people kind of in our groups are U.S. based, but you've been a great influence. So thanks for being a part of
Yeah. No, you're
our
you're welcome.
community.
And the groups are really active, and like this group particularly, there's a lot of positivity, and there's none of the bickering and squabbling that goes on in the other groups. Maybe even though Rodney's in it.
That's that's
Well, the
that's because
funny thing is,
I'm in charge of it, so it
Yeah.
doesn't. That's
you
why it
can't
doesn't
but you
happen.
can't ban yourself, Rodney.
Well,
No,
the funny thing is, it's like the longer this goes on, the more reasonable Rodney sounds to people, you know?
It's
So
been
it's
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 been it's
funny.
been mentioned and noted in many comments how people say, "Oh, if Rodney just toned it back and people would listen to him and how much he knows," and that's what I've always looked at is take away the Rodney will always fight if he thinks the fight's there and it's warranted, but his knowledge is like second to none. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, I have to agree with that sentiment as well.
yeah,
Caleb, let's go to you.
Yeah, my name is Caleb. I'm from Paw Paw, Michigan. Started out with reptiles just like probably everybody here back when they were kids. Had a bunch of them. Couldn't have snakes. Mother wouldn't let me have snakes. When I moved out, I got my first snake, a boa, and then I got another boa. Figured out boas weren't my thing, and then didn't have snakes for a while. And then I got into ball pythons like 2 years ago. Had my first clutch this year, and then also got my first Super Dwarf retic this year. And as soon as I got that first one, I was like, all right, nothing compares. We're getting rid of everything, and we're just going Super Dwarfs. Something about them, just no other snakes compete, not even in the slightest. And just picked up my second one like 2 weeks ago, and that's the plan moving forward. Just continue getting Super Dwarfs, showing that they're not these vicious animals that a lot of people in the community seem to think they are. Um, and yeah,
That's awesome. And your username on socials is,
it's the Serpent Shed on all forms of social media.
well, and I will say, Caleb, one of the things I think you do really well on social media is you just love sharing everybody else's stuff, and I think that's just such a positive thing for our community. When you feel like you can share other people's stuff and you're just doing it for the passion of that, and you're seeing the good in other people and other people's collections and animals, I think that's a really cool trait that you have. So I appreciate it. I know a lot of other breeders appreciate it too. So I'm really excited for your journey and kind of where you end up in the next 3, 5, 10 years from now. Dylan, I know we introed you before, but go ahead, give us a little blip and we'll go from there.
Yeah, I'm Dylan. You can find me at Pacific Tropicals on Instagram, and just Dylan on Facebook, Dylan Hulett. Um, I'm based in California. I've been into reptiles my whole life. Got into the retics just about a year ago now. Yeah, I think I just hit a year. And kind of similar thing that Caleb had. I just fell in love with them and decided this is it. This is the species for me. I've always wanted to breed something and just didn't really want to get involved in breeding ball pythons or corn snakes or hognoses or anything. But I kind of saw a market demand for the Superdorf retics and said, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're one of those newer breeders too that have come in and I think of in terms of just having an impact very similar to Caleb, where your perspective right off the rip is really really good. You see the importance of locality blood, and we'll kind of dive into that. And Darren, I want you to talk a little bit about that over in the UK. So I'm overall just really excited for the conversation because I think there's a lot of good topics we're going to be able to cover here. And so with that being said, let's go to you, Darren. I want to talk. There's a couple specific topics I want to talk about, kind of the UK versus the US market. But first and foremost, if you could kind of just generalize it, the UK versus the US, what's happening in retics or the retic scene, what are some of the similarities? What are some of the differences right off the bat that you could kind of point out for people looking
Well,
at
I
that?
think that the biggest difference is if you use Morph Market as an indicator. Currently, Morph Market UK, there's 21 reticulated pythons for sale.
Wow, that's crazy.
So yeah, and I think the most I've ever seen it at was 6 months ago. When everybody was selling their stuff that was just being bred and ready to come out. I think the most I've ever seen on there was 48 retics.
Wow.
We don't have anything like Craigslist. Excuse me. We have like Pre-Loved and things like that. And there's the RF UK, which is the Reptile Forums UK, which I suppose could be a little bit like your King Snake forum,
Mhm.
where you have all different kinds of animals and there's lots of stuff for sale. Most of the trading is done via Facebook, the groups. Although, you put in the group, ready to fly or needs a new postcode or zip code in your case, stuff like that. And a lot of it is word of mouth, and reputation in the UK is paramount. Um, obviously we can import. We don't have the Lacey Act. We can import, but the thing is, I spoke to a guy recently, and I was looking at getting some Philippine locality stuff shipped to the UK, and I could buy a captive farmed or wild caught baby for $60. Right, so that's how much the snake would cost me to buy. And then I've recently, last weekend, I visited a gentleman in Southampton. I bought my first ever blood python. A little bit of diversity due to size, and he actually is the main man who brings in all Justin Kabelka's stuff for Canova into the UK and Europe. So
Mhm.
I discussed him with him, the feasibility of bringing in a crate full of baby retics, from the Philippines, and it just works out. It would not be feasible, even if we got them to Ham. Like Bob Clark goes to Ham and he gets his retics into Ham, and then anything that wants to come into Europe, we can send couriers to Ham. We have to have the CITES paperwork in place, and it can just cross the border. It's quite a simple process. But to get it from the Philippines to Ham and then get you have to have a broker involved, etc. It would probably mean the price from what I could buy the snake and get it shipped over to what I could sell it. It wouldn't be it wouldn't be
Mm.
viable as a profit. It would be great because I've got lots of friends here who would invest in that just to get it into the country, to have that to put into their breeding program. But as a business proposition, it wouldn't make a business proposition whatsoever. But to be fair, most of the guys I deal with are in it for the snakes. They're not in it for the business. So yeah, I mean, there's probably a hand. I could probably count the number of decent breeders in the UK wouldn't take up these 10 fingers.
Interesting.
Mm.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well,
Well,
what about Indo?
that's
Can you
yeah.
get? Yeah, can you get? You should be able to get some stuff pretty easily out of Indo.
I haven't. I went on a couple of Indo groups and I put in, a post just like,
Mhm.
look, I'm in the UK. I'm looking to see if somebody can help me import animals, but didn't get anything. But when I went on the Philippine group, there was 2 or 3 people contacted me. Obviously, you
Yeah.
have to be wary of that because you
Yeah.
don't know how genuine they are and etc. But yeah, I mean, to get new stuff in, I know one of the guys I know, Mark Loudon. He's up in the north of the country. He's one of the only people in the UK that has the Ocelot project, and he also
Mm.
has the Clawus,
Okay.
which is an incredible, and he's doing some incredible stuff with that. And he's looking to get some, I believe it's Indo caramel blood in. I think it was through Jacob in.
Oh, Yakub.
Yeah, either him or there's another guy in Poland that's doing big things as well, and he's got some really incredible stuff. And I know Mark's looking to get stuff in, like imported into Europe, and then get it from Europe into the UK, because obviously we voted out of Europe, so with Brexit, so we're not actually in the European Union now, which creates all sorts of problems with paperwork and stuff. But there are some guys, and we had a massive incident earlier in the year where a courier went over to Ham to pick up some snakes for one of the premier breeders in the UK, was picking up a mega expensive snake from Bob Clark, got caught at the border with thousands and thousands of pounds worth of snakes in his van with no CITES paperwork, which he said he was going to do. And everybody gave him their money and trusted him. The snakes then got impounded, and by the time the person I know was looking to get their snake, I think it had passed, and he lost all the money. There was no insurance, and just
Mm.
because of one dodgy courier, and that's affected
Wow.
people. And that one person who I know has bred some fantastic stuff this year, he hasn't bothered because the market is so low.
Yeah, that
That's
sucks.
that's super interesting. Yeah, I mean that's a terrible story, but I
Yeah,
think it's very telling in terms of just the differences, the stark differences between the UK and the US in terms of market demand, reliable breeders, breeders that you can
absolutely.
trust.
Yeah,
Um, I think it's also interesting because I feel like a few of those top breeders have really focused on some of those projects that they're working on and are producing some just fantastic things. But
yes,
you're telling us that in terms of just the demand on the business side,
not there.
it doesn't really exist.
No, like a good friend of mine, Connor. Again, he's in the north. He's just bred some wonderful mainlands, and it's again. There's in the UK, you're either super dwarf or you're mainland. There's not many people that do the in between, and he's just bred some beautiful mainland pied tigers, all sorts of stuff. And like he said, he's probably going to end up keeping hold of them because people are going to want to buy them for say £1,000 when there's a retail business in Blackpool that sells reptiles. He used to trade under Jay Brewer's trading name, and Jay used to come over to the UK.
Oh, the
That's
reptile
ceased
room.
now. Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
They're selling pies for between £2,600 £3,000,
Hmm.
and they're not going to sell. They're never going to sell for that money. Yeah, there's just no demand for the top end stuff. I mean, ocelots. Mark's produced ocelots, and he said they're not worth selling because people won't pay what he thinks they're worth, and he just as well keep them to for future breeding and to put different lines of his ocelot into different projects.
Hmm.
Wow. That
Yeah,
yeah, that's really that's really interesting because like I
yeah,
said, I feel like visually speaking with some of those projects, it's night and day in comparison to what the US is currently working on or currently doing with some of those
yeah.
projects.
I,
It's not
I
all
don't
the
think
stuff, but I
I
think
don't think
some of
we
it.
have blue. We don't have blue hypo here yet. I don't believe there's no
Yeah,
blue hypo in the UK. I think there is in Europe, but there's none in the UK.
Hmm.
yeah. Yeah. Um No, that's great, Darren. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. We'll circle back to that.
Yeah.
I've got a couple questions for Caleb and Dylan. Caleb, I know you coming in. Sounds like you just got your second Super Dwarf, right? And it's a sun. Was it a Sunfire
Nope, it's a
or no?
marble purple Posset Annery.
That's right.
Oh,
That's
nice.
right. That's right. And you picked that up from.
I got it from Rob. It was produced by Eric.
Nice, nice. So, coming into this space, Caleb, you're seeing all these different keepers, all these different breeders. What's the hardest part for you in terms of coming into the space, building credibility, building up kind of your name? What are some of the challenges or some of the things that you're seeing?
I don't really see it as much of a, I guess, challenge. I just started social media. Just I was just having fun, and I was just taking videos of all my snakes and posting them. And then once I got into the retics, everybody start is I've noticed just doing the same thing, and I don't know. I feel like definitely the hardest part for retics, at least, is definitely going to be just to prove that you're trustworthy in the community, especially when it comes to like percentages and stuff. So I've realized that me making a name for myself is going to be a lot more important with retics versus anything else that doesn't really have to do with percentages.
Yeah, I agree. When you really focus on, especially the super door side, it's like, having real data, having real lineage info, and being able to build not just a quality, high quality animals, but being able to, place those animals that you're producing into good homes with confidence, and also, setting the proper expectations from the get go, and being someone of integrity. It's like that's, I think, the most important thing. I mean, even for some of the stuff that I have, it's like, understanding that my Kaiwadi stuff it's just going to be bigger than my other stuff. It's like you have to kind of understand that. And so, you don't want to sell people a pipe dream that these things are going to stay super, super
The size of a
micro
corn snake.
small in terms of yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, and that comes up like every episode at this point. But no, I mean, I think it's just crazy because if just having integrity in your marketing, and then once again connecting with your customers and giving them a really good experience, because you just had bought your second animal. It's like that's always just so fun, and I saw that you set up your enclosures. How did that go, by the way, too, with just your enclosure setups?
Yeah, eight's gone good so far. Two of them I built, one of them I bought just because I didn't have the time to get something built. My shop's in the middle of getting tore down and put away for the winter. It's getting moved in the summer, so I just didn't have the time to build another one. But yeah, they stacked up pretty nice.
Yeah, they look good. They look good. And they're what, naturalistic or bioactive?
No, so they're not bioactive yet. Once I plan on going PVC down the road, maybe in the next year or so, and I want to try full bioactive. I think the curly haired keeper Abby, I love her setups. They look awesome, and I don't plan on ever
Hmm.
having 50 retics at any point. So if I can have some cool looking setups, I think that'd be sweet. But no, they're not bioactive yet. They just look somewhat naturalistic, I suppose.
Yeah. Yeah, I think having setups that look nice is really important, especially if you're showing your stuff off or having people come over, interacting with your animals. I think it's definitely something that makes the experience just that much better. From what I've experienced.
Yeah.
Dylan, let's talk a little bit about. I know you talked about some of the projects on the last episode, or last time you came on. Some of the projects that you're wanting to eventually work towards. But if just kind of looking at the landscape of where we're at with super dwarfs, with mainlands here in the US, where do you kind of see the market going from your perspective, let's say over the next like 5 to 10 years?
Well, over the next 5 to 10 years, let's see. It's definitely, I've heard you guys echo this before. It's definitely moving towards super dwarfs. I think Rodney's 100% correct with If you have like a 60 something percent super dwarf tiger that sells for $500, no one's going to want a mainland tiger anymore. It's going to be a very small group of people that are with that. The size of the snake is actually the determining factor that makes them want it.
Mhm.
And then I think beyond that, it's going to be the people who are mixing in localities who kind of rise to the top. Because sizing down is one thing, but like working in those different localities and sizing down is a whole other challenge. I'm sure all you guys understand that because you've been thinking about it. Like I have a Super Maluku, and just trying to think of like long term, like you're saying, 5 to 10 years, how I'm going to use that thing. Making a pretty snake is one thing. Making a smaller snake is one thing, but making a small pretty snake, that's a whole other challenge.
Yeah, I agree, and I think there hasn't been that much experimentation yet between the super dwarf side and the locality stuff. You know, there's been some locality work done. There's been a lot of super dwarf stuff done, but I think really bringing in locality attributes is going to really help make those super dwarfs pop in just a completely different way than I think we've ever seen before, which I'm
Well,
really excited about.
Shane Costello's even stepping into locality morphs, isn't he, to put to
Yeah.
his purple sunfire and stuff. So if he's doing it, then
Yeah, after I
everybody's
made
taking
fun
note, I
of him for
expect.
not doing it.
I
After
was gonna
for,
say that
for
might
about
help.
5 years straight, I
Yeah,
just
yeah,
made fun of him
yeah.
for
You
not
made your
doing
point, Rodney.
it.
Yeah,
But no, I
yeah.
mean, and hopefully, like with in Shane's case, hopefully it's not too late, because
Mm,
there, there's a lot of people that just got into retics that locality wise are light years ahead
yeah.
of a lot of these people that have been doing it for a long time. But like Dylan was saying, that is a tough part, man. Like how to make a pretty small snake. It's easy to make a small snake, and it's easy to make a pretty one, but to put those two together, I mean, it's what I've done is I've really tried to enhance single genes and just keep increasing. Like I'm hoping next year to be doing projects like ternate tigers that are 87.5% ternate and platy ternates that are 87.5 and that kind of stuff. So if you do want to get that into your super dwarf, your first breeding, you're only incorporating uh 6.25% mainland
Yeah,
versus 50% for a mainland to super dwarf. If you're running an 87.5 percent ternate or something, and that'll be huge. That'll be huge. You'll get a lot of color, a lot of pattern, a lot of downsizing right out the gate. But yeah, that all that shit takes time, man. That's to
but
get to
also,
87. Yeah,
sorry.
get to 87. That's I got to do 3 breedings to get to that. So, before I
Yeah,
can even sell that product, I gotta do 3 breedings to get to it. So,
but going back to when you were on the Retic Lounge, Rodney, you made a point of saying, well, pick whatever you like and
yeah,
make the best version of that. And I
yeah,
think that's what
Mm,
people need to do before they chuck, you know, any old tiger into, a Super Maluku or a Tribal or a Halmahera.
mhm,
Make the best tiger you can, or
yeah,
the best whatever you're going to make you can, to then put into that project. So if it
yeah,
takes an extra year or two, then the benefits are going to be massive.
yeah,
Well, I
absolutely.
think everybody's goal should be also on top of that is to make an animal that almost becomes your own look, right?
Yes.
So it's like when you
Yeah.
see something, it's like, oh, that's an R&B reptiles ternate,
Yeah.
or that's a, coiled retics hypo, or it's like
Yeah.
you're working with the polygenics where it just over time you get your own look because it's something that you really personally like and are
Yeah.
passionate about. And I think that's part of the creativity and the fun of the breeding side that I think a lot of people don't really think about too much is like you're kind of a creative director when it comes to breeding. And so you can't just throw a male and a female together and hope and pray things turn out. It's
Yes.
that's the first step, but then the second step is from that clutch, right? What are you actually going to hold back? And I had this conversation with Rodney a couple days ago where it's like, you know, how do you decide, or how do you pick your holdbacks? And we've
Yeah.
talked a little bit about that, but um, Darren, talk about some of your experience, because I know you've had a ton of different reptiles and things like that before. But what's been kind of your experience on that front?
Well, I think the retics, they're far more intelligent than people give them credit for. I've recently had an issue with one of mine. Just he knew how to get out of his vivarium. We don't have the luxury that you guys have in the states of being able to buy and choose beautiful plastic vivariums. They're very rare here. Most people are still using like plywood and board and stuff. And there's a brand here where you've got the vent. It goes in and it's got the little grooves for the wires to come down. And the
Mm,
snakes, they just know that if they go in beyond the wires, they pull the vent in and they're off. And the number of times I've had, inquisitive retics, I've heard a bang in the night and I've woke up and I'm like, oh, where's he to or where's she to? And yeah, they're just so interactive with you. Whereas when I kept the berms, one wonderful, wonderful pets, I didn't have a berm that was aggressive in any way or even viv defensive. I mean,
mm.
I had an 8 foot vivarium in my lounge, and my daughter, when she was younger, 10, 11, 12, she would climb in there with a 16-foot Burmese python and pull her out to put her in the shower. And that snake, I had her from the size of a Sharpie, and when she left me, she was just touching 18 feet, and she's now, believe it or not, she's over 20 feet. I know where she
Wow.
is. She's with a
Wow.
good keeper, and she is massive. But she never struck at me once, even from the first day I took her home to the day I gave her to someone to take her away from me because I was unwell. That snake never struck at me. I had carpet pythons, jaguar carpet pythons, absolute psychopaths. Just whatever you did, they would strike at the glass. They'd be in tubs, and the lids would come off the tubs. Well, we've had ball pythons. My kids have had ball pythons. Um, what else? There, rosy, not rosy boas, the really bright boas. We've had all sorts of stuff, but nothing's grabbed hold of me like the retics. They're just all encompassing, and they've all got such different personalities. I've got a tiger. She's absolutely stunning, but she just, I mean, I must have took, in the first 6 months of having her, I must have took 200 bites off her. She just would not calm down. Even now, when I get her out, I'll get her out with a hook. She'll be calm, but she'll wrap my arm to the point where, she's really uncomfortable. And I've been doing a lot with her, and she just, yeah, I've just got a new Bacan, and I don't even have to use a hook with her. I just open it up. She pops her head out, pick her up, and my mainland Motley's the same. They're just all different, and you can't assume one's going to be like the rest. You've got to learn your snakes, and I I don't like the stuff that Nerd put out, but I do think Kevin made a good point when he educated people on reading the snake, reading its tongue, to know when he's in thinking mode, when he's in I'm chilling out mode, etc. Lifting him up, turning him round. That I've used that myself many times when the snake begins to get a little bit anxious, and it does work. And I think learning your snake as much as they're going to learn you and realize you're not a threat, or when it is feed time, I try to always feed from the same side of the viv because I've got the sliding glass doors. And if I'm going to get them out, I'll go in the other side. I learned that years ago with the berms. I had a mentor, a guy called Carl Amesbury, and he said if you get the snake familiar with, if you're going in this side, it's going to feed. If you're going in this side, it's going to be enrichment or just a clean out or whatever. And that stuck with me all the time, and I always do that.
Yeah, I love that. I think having a routine with your animals, especially
Yep,
retics, is really important. Whatever that
yep,
routine is, however you
yep,
set that up. I know for me, when it's feeding night, I always feed kind of in the evening, and then
yep,
what I'll do too is I'll actually take my one of my keys to my enclosures, and I'll go and I'll just kind of scratch on the enclosure. So I'll make a very unique noise, and
yep.
then they all get fired
Association.
up, ready to
Yeah,
feed. Yeah.
yeah,
So it's very specific though, right?
yes,
And I think you're 100% right. When it comes to retics, all of them can be so different.
yep,
And I think people need to be prepared for that. I think one thing that can help in terms of learning your snake is buying those animals when they're young, right? Buying them when they're fresh out of the, fresh and ready to be shipped, essentially, 8 weeks
I agree.
old. It's like, because especially for new keepers and new people coming in, it's like
Yeah,
you want to be able to mess with that snake and get comfortable with it. And if you're buying a locality or super dwarf cross or whatever, it's like you're going to have time before that snake gets really any size on it. So
I agree.
it's like
Yeah.
that's awesome. um Caleb, question for you. So, what do you feel like? I know you're newer and kind of coming into this, but what do you feel like some of the maybe the new keepers or the new people coming into retics are getting right versus maybe some of the old ways of maintaining these animals or dealing with retics in general? What would you say, just from your perspective coming in? What do you like? What do you maybe don't like? Or what are some things that are positive that people are doing in the community?
I think we're definitely switching to more of a. I think Megan Kelly said it on a podcast at some point where all these new keepers are coming in to more of a nurturing standpoint, I suppose, versus the old school way of handling snakes, just pulling them out. And like the curly haired keeper, she does it as well. She does choice based handling. And I feel like, in my opinion, I just think that's super cool. Like the snake wants to come out to you and you're not just pulling the snake out. And I'm not saying pulling your snake out's a bad thing, but the aspect of that snake wanting to come to you is just, it feels like a closer bond, I suppose, that you have with that animal. And I think a lot of the newer, younger generation is kind of in that same kind of mindset of choice based handling and just like, I don't really know what the word would be, but more of like nurture, I suppose. And I think that's cool.
Yeah, I'm definitely kind of seeing that too as well. I think that's a really good point. I'm definitely seeing that too, where I mean, even the kind of content that's getting pushed by most people in the community, I think kind of leans more that way, where it's like people are wanting to connect with their animals more, they're wanting to show them off more, they're wanting to educate other people more. And I think it's important that we recognize that and continue to kind of push that forward, because long gone are the days where we have you know people keeping a lot of these snakes in these terrible conditions and not being called out for it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? It's like we've had a number of those already that have been kind of kicked out of the community, and that's definitely not a place we want to go again, where we're supporting people that are doing that or abusing their animals. But I've also said this before too. I think there's multiple different ways and multiple different setups to healthily maintain your animals and give them enrichment and doing that correctly. I think it's really cool to see a lot of these new keepers coming in and seeing what they're doing for enrichment, or seeing how they're setting up their enclosures, and or how they're feeding, or different routines that they have, or how they clean. It's like everybody's kind of has their own flavor or their own style of doing things, and I think that's really what makes the community so special too, is because there's a lot of different ways to do that. um Dylan, in terms of just, you talked a little bit about titanium before, you talked about hypo, we've talked about morphs, morph combos. In terms of just the landscape right now, what's maybe a morph or something that you've seen that's gotten a lot of hype that doesn't resonate with you, or maybe something that you just are not into? I'm curious.
This is going to be blasphemy, but the snow project I have zero interest in. To me, just a straight purple looks so much better than a snow. Like, why you got these beautiful purple lines on a retic, and then you put in this gene that takes away the color that makes it purple. Like, and I've seen some nice snows, but the majority of them, I I don't know. It just doesn't resonate. It's not a project I want to pursue, which thank God, because it's probably the most expensive project out there.
No, that's interesting that you say that. I mean, ever since Bob Clark brought in the first purple, right? I mean, we've talked about it too. I mean, purples. Uh, everybody has seen a purple and they're like, wow, like that's a really nice looking snake. If it's a mainland super dwarf, whatever. And so I can definitely see your perspective on that. There's a lot of different combinations and different morphs out there that people have not pursued. And snows, we have a couple people, Eric kind of probably being the leader in the space on snows. And I love Eric too, and he's just taken that project to like the moon. Like he is just and that's one thing that I would love to see is, he's working on some super high percent, I don't know what it is, 6, 7, 8 gene animals, right? And he's smashing all these like morphs into, these tiny super dwarfs. But what I'm really interested to see is taking one of those animals and then tossing it into the paint can, as how I visualize it, with like a ternate or something like that, or a
Yeah.
halmahera, right? And just kind of seeing what pops out. Like, does that have a big enough effect to bring all the contrast back, right? Or to bring all the color back? And so anyway, I've talked to him about that, but no, I definitely see your point on that. Everybody's got their own things that they like.
Yeah,
Um,
and like I said, I've seen some awesome ones out there. I actually really like yours, Spencer. The snow that you have is beautiful. But just for the most part, usually I'm like I like purples are far more consistent for me. Though every purple I see, I really like. Like Eric's actually, I don't think it's a snow. It might be, and I might be shooting myself in the foot here, but he's got I think it's a purple, I think it's just a purple sun at
mm,
like 50 something, 50% Kalatoa, 6% Jamp or something. And that snake is just, that's the pinnacle of the purple for me, is just like a purple sun. Or I don't really love the orange snakes that Shane's doing. I appreciate him doing it, but yeah, the
yeah.
uh yeah,
I,
for
are
me
you
it's the
talking? Are
snow
you talking
project.
about Eric's purple platinum sun?
Yes, yes.
That snake's really impressive.
Yeah, that snake is one of the best purples I've ever seen. I
Yeah.
would love to see some more people pursuing purples along that kind of aesthetic look rather than
Hmm.
the snow.
Well, Caleb, you just picked up that het purple. I mean, you can't go wrong
Oh,
picking up a high percent het.
I love the Snow
So
Project. I look up to Eric, all of his stuff. Something about the snows,
yeah,
man.
yeah.
That's what got me in.
I'm kind of I'm kind of in between. I own a snow and I love her to death. Um, but yeah, I definitely going to do some stuff with her, but I don't think that's going to be my main bread and butter stuff. But I think purples once again. I mean, you look on Morph Market, and Rodney, correct? How many retics? 1,500. I forget the number that was
It's
on there
over a
last time,
thousand.
but
Yeah, there's over a
yeah, over
thousand.
1,000. I mean, how many solid high percent purples are just available? It's like there's not.
I don't think
You know
there's
what I
any
I would
mean?
say
available
It's
right
there's
now.
0 high percent purples. Yeah.
Yeah, I
that
can
that
look, but I'm
and
gonna
that's the
I'm gonna say
thing.
it's 0. I'm gonna say there's nothing over.
There's a lot of 50% SD purples with 3 to 6% Jamp that are listed as high percentage purples.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I almost want to make like a coiled shirt that just says "Make Purples," like, because it's just I think there's just something that resonates with those albino genes and getting people into the space, like getting people stoked about retics, and getting people comfortable with the idea of owning a retic too. It's like there's a calming effect that comes with purples, or really any kind of albino gene, but I think that's important. And with that being said, I wanted to talk a little bit more, Darren, with you in the UK. Um, why do we see such a stark difference? And maybe some people will disagree with me on this, but why do we see such a stark difference in terms of color saturation, blacks, and just like profound differences in terms of what is being produced in the UK? Because I think there's just some really high end looking stuff that's like next level versus a lot of the stuff that's coming out of the US. What would you say is the main difference?
Um, excuse me. I think that there are some guys in the UK that are producing some high end Aztec stuff now,
Hmm.
and on those sort of lines. And I believe Jacob, or Jacob as we call him in the UK, I believe most of the breeding stock that these guys are producing from have come from him.
Mm.
So it is coming from really good stock to start with. I've never heard anybody in the UK talk so much that they market their snake on the name or the number of genes, or the rarity of it. They don't really talk about the traits and the phenotypes and how they what they choose. And like I've said it before. I think Rodney's got a superpower. He can look at one snake and think, well, that snake will make that snake turn into that. I don't think that's the case so much in the UK. I think it's more it's it, it's feeding the market with what's rare, and these guys have spent big bucks, a couple of years ago to get quality animals in from Europe, and some of that's obviously coming from Asia. And I think there's some guys have got some really really top quality breeding stock. And like I say, I'm only a keeper right now. I'm not a breeder, but there are the odd snake that will throw up on one of the sites, and you'll see it, and it'll be like really like my 75% super dwarf unknown, who's, I mean, his blacks are so thick, his yellows. I mean, I have no idea what he is. I'm not going to breed from him. He's a snake I fell in love with, and I'm going to keep as a pet. But his color saturation is incredible, and I think that was more by luck than judgment on the person that bred it, because it was like a reptile store in the Midlands. I saw it, liked it, because that's what I've always done. Is I've always bought what I like, not looked at what can I produce in 5 years' time or whatever. I've bought what I like, and then now I'm at a point now where I've got some nicer stuff. Like I've just got a lovely Sun Phantom, 75%. He's going to go to my Bacan, who I found out does have 31% or roughly 31% dwarf in her, after Sam looked back through the records. So I mean, that's going to produce a Calamaya
Mhm.
at some point. That's something I'd really like to do. I've got two 87.5% super dwarfs, brother and sister siblings, both het for anery.
Mm.
That they are. There's not a spot of yellow on those snakes at all. So they'll go back to each other 3 or 4 years time, and that's really only what I'm looking at this far ahead. I've got a lovely male snow that's just turned 3. He's dropping sperm plugs now. I've got nothing to put him to, but I'm speaking to friends, in my close community. If someone wants to use him, for a breeding project, I'd quite happily let them use him, because he's in fantastic shape. He's ready to go. But I think a lot of it is by buying in quality and then line breeding back within that quality. But nobody really mentions, phenotypical traits or anything like that. It's just what the snake looks like, and then this Aztec that's a nice Aztec. We'll put it with that and make a nicer Aztec or whatever. I don't think there's too much scientific study goes into it here, because probably, like I say, you're probably talking a handful of 10 breeders tops in the UK.
Right. Well, it sounds like because there's not a huge market demand and because there's only really a handful of top tier breeders,
Yep.
those individuals are laser focused on making the best looking stuff. Just
Yeah.
visually, what comes out of the eggs, they're just lasered focus. And I think the big difference between that and what we're seeing here in the US is that there's so many keepers, there's so many breeders, there's so many people coming in and out of the space, and there's also all kinds of different stuff available. You've got mainland stuff
Mass
like
production, effectively.
100%, right? You
Yeah.
have some inbreeding, you have some different things or whatever going on, but
Yeah.
a lot of it too, I think wasn't a lot of the breedings that have happened in the US, I don't think were done with kind of that creative director mentality. Does that make sense? Where it's like, I
Yes.
want to
Yeah.
create the best looking stuff. It was more like, I'm going to take option A with option B just to produce a clutch, right? And in some cases with the big breeders, the big mainland breeders, they were going for one animal out of a clutch, right? And they would
Yeah.
still sell the other stuff for wholesale. They didn't really care about it.
Yeah.
So
Or I've seen people, they'll like anything that they don't value, they'll sell it to people to feed to cobras and lizards.
right, right,
You know, which luckily that doesn't happen in the UK, as
right,
far as I'm aware. But that just seems like a false economy completely.
right. So I think a lot of the things that we see, or a lot of the animals that we see that are listed and kind of sit right, or and it doesn't move, I think um some of that is a byproduct of overproduction. I think some of that is a
Absolutely.
byproduct of not having a game plan going into, certain breedings.
Well, it's
And
misrepresentation as well.
misrepresentation, right? So
Yep.
I think there's a lot of different things, but it is really interesting to me the stark contrast between the UK and the US because I was thinking that there was maybe a bigger kind of market or bigger, there was more people involved, but it sounds like it's really only a
It's just
handful
a
of people at
cottage.
the
It's
time.
a cottage industry, really.
Yeah, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
So I
but
can
the
see
thing
why you're
is,
so active in the US market too.
yeah,
Yeah, that's awesome.
the thing is though, with you guys getting a lot of your stuff from Yakub, your genetic diversity in that gene pool is actually larger than a lot of the stuff in the US.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because I mean, it's like a lot of our stuff is 10 generations inbred with
Yeah.
not with no new blood coming in where Yakub stuff, I mean, it is a constant fresh supply
Yeah.
of traits, genetics, genes, localities. So, I mean, that
Yeah.
I think that's the real reason you guys' stuff, UK and EU is aesthetically speaking is crushing the US. And
Yeah.
it's I know what cause it is. I know what causes those looks. It's basically conflicting polygenic traits that
Yes.
that give these unique looks. That's what's doing it.
Yeah.
So, but I mean, with you guys you got such few retics there, but your genetic diversity, um, there's only a handful of collections in the US where you'll see any kind of genetic diversity like that.
Yeah.
Right, right.
Yeah. I think it's great. It's a case of quality over quantity, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, that's great. Caleb, let's go to you. What's kind of the vision for Serpent Shed and the next 5 to 10 years? I mean, I know you just picked up that animal from Eric, but tell us a little bit about kind of your vision as a keeper and kind of where you want it all to go.
I'm kind of following in kind of the same route you took. Just get females, raise them up for 4 or 5 years, disappear maybe like
Yeah.
you did at the very beginning. But so yeah,
Yeah.
I want to get into Mochino stuff. That's really where my passion
Mm.
is. Eric's, I think he has the only two in Super Dwarfs. Is that true? I might be wrong.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah.
There's a clutch
I
just
think it's
laid
what 50.
couple there was just a clutch laid couple days ago.
Okay. But yeah,
So we're
But
gonna
his
see
his
we're
is
gonna
what
see some
his is
more.
what
59.37
yeah, we'll
feet.
have some more. Yeah,
Yeah.
is that clutch going to be 50%, Rodney?
I think it's might be a little higher actually.
Oh, okay. So you're in the ballpark. Yeah, those are nice animals.
Yeah, I something about that. I've always loved like T positive albino stuff. I think when I was first getting into retics, I watched what video was it? It was on the zombie snow that Reach Out Reptiles produced.
Mm.
So it's a
Yep.
Mochino Snow GC, and something about
Well, that's incredible. That snake.
yeah, something
Yeah.
about that combo, I was like, wow, that is just
Yeah.
fantastic. And that's always been kind of the goal. I didn't really see it as a possibility until recently. Um, Joe Hull, he said he was on one of your guys', I think it was the first podcast you did,
Mhm.
maybe the second that he was
Mm.
on, and he was talking
Yep.
about he might have a clutch this season that's 100% het mocha, 100% het anery. So
Killer.
I'm thinking I'm gonna try to get a
Mm.
mail from him for that and run that to my 100% het snow female. Try to get some mochinos out of that. So that's the start. But down the road, I'd like to mainly focus on mochino. I want to get some ternates and some super malukus at some point. Um, I'm hoping that I'm hoping to get a pure Kalatoa pair this year as well. So that's kind of on my list is a pure Kalatoa pair and that Het Mocha Het Anery from Joe. Those are my two or my three
That's awesome.
pickups for this year.
Nice.
As long as money comes in.
Yeah, it's always that always is a bridge to cross
Oh
in
yeah,
terms of buying new stuff. No, I think you're on the right path, man. It's exciting, especially when you're trying to strategize what to pick up. And I know we've talked about it a bunch of times, but obviously, just you can't go wrong getting a few pure females, and raising those up because you're always gonna down the roads at some point, continue on the size, piece of it and shrinking those animals down. And I think you can never go wrong there. And yeah, it's just kind of like a slow grind. That's kind of been my motto from the beginning, is just like enjoy your animals, raise your stuff, enjoy building out enclosures for them and watching them grow, learning about, their different personalities. And then from there, it's like as things start to speed up and ramp up, then it's you kind of change your mentality a little bit. But it really makes you appreciate, like, I just did an intro. I didn't see any locks yet, but I just did an intro with my hypo male to my pure superdwarf female a few days ago, and they got along great. There was nothing crazy that happened, but um,
that's your
yeah,
first
it
one.
will definitely make you. Yeah, I've been trying my Coyote female with Nathan Katz's male as well, but I think she's still kind of building. So I'm hoping in the next couple weeks she'll actually be ready. But um, yeah, females have been very receptive on both of those so far. It's just I haven't seen any locks yet, so it just might be
Fingers
still early
crossed.
for both of those. Fingers crossed. Yeah, and I leave them in there. I leave them in there for a few days at a time, and then I'll pull them out and feed the males and see if she goes off food or not. So, anyway, that's exciting, Dylan. In terms of just and I know you've talked a little bit about you know some of the different things that you've obviously seen coming into the space. um, Tell us just a little bit about some of the goals that you have, over the next like 5 to 10 years. I know you've talked about titanium and hypo. What else would you like to see just out of yourself and out of maybe the community as a whole?
So for myself, I'm pretty split right now. I'm kind of at a point where I really got to make a decision and commit to it. Um, and I'm of two minds with it. Like I really love a lot of the morph projects. But there's just so many people doing, like, most people are doing most of the morphs I want to see, except for like things where you'd have to take a mainland to a pure superdwarf, and that's just not
But not
something
to
I
cut
can
you off,
do.
but most of them
Yeah.
aren't doing it well. So so keep that in
Well,
Right.
mind.
yeah,
Keep that in mind.
that's true. That's definitely in the back of my head too. Is I think I could probably do better if I put a little more thought into it. Um, I have a tiger female. I'll definitely produce at least a clutch with her. I love tigers. I kind of just
Mm.
followed the advice of pick what you like. And when I was trying to buy her, I was thinking a lot like, oh, I should get, a tiger GC platinum sun, just this crazy, so that I get the crazy clutch. But then I realized I don't, I like the tiger. You start adding other stuff to it, I don't like it. Um, so
True.
I'm kind of, so there's like the side of me that wants to do morphs, and then the side of me that kind of wants to echo what Rodney's doing, just in a super dwarf fashion. um like I have the Toa and Super Maluku that I'm going to take together, and I kind of would, I've been thinking a lot about just following that path of just mixing these different localities and seeing how cool of a small normal I could make. Because to be honest, normal's my favorite looking snake. The
Mhm.
normal retic is the most beautiful python, maybe snake in the world, to me. And so I got to kind of make a decision on that, because I don't have infinite space. I can't have 30, 40 snakes here. So um that's what I've been thinking about recently. Do I want to kind of cross localities, or do I kind of want to pursue like one or two genes with also crossing localities in, but we basically keep them pure locality or mix them into morphs.
Right.
Make some yellowheads, you'll be a millionaire.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
gonna wait for Rodney, and then I'll buy one off him.
Yeah. Yeah,
I was gonna
yellowheads
I was
sell,
gonna
man.
ask I was gonna ask Rodney, is anybody working with Ghost in the Superdwarf right now?
A friend of mine's somebody did do that project, but I have
I thought, yeah, it was just like 3 years ago I saw somebody was
yeah,
working on it,
I
but
have
I
a
haven't seen him.
ghost I have a ghost down at a buddy's house, and he's starting that project.
Ooh, well, that
it's
would
like
be awesome. Bone
long-term
white heads
l
only, though.
yeah, yeah, well, I sent him and a high silver because I popped out a snake this year that had a really unique look to it, very, very high silver, so I gave it to him, because 'cause he's got my ghost down there, and, its paws had anthrax or something, I don't really remember,
Mm,
and he wants to work the super dwarf and anthrax high bone whitehead super dwarf project. Like he wants to put all that together. So I had to give him yeah it's the snake the high silver I don't know how it happened. There was just a weird lineup of genetics. It has both Halma and Ternate blood in it, but it got very low side banding, very high silver. And I'm like, well, this would look amazing in Ghost. This would look amazing in Mocha. um, so I
mm.
just it was a female, I just handed it off to him to get those get those other traits, start stacking them for for a look. So I know somebody who's actually, yes, starting that, and I'm partially involved.
That's awesome. Are they shooting for a clutch of 50% Superdwarf head ghosts
I don't
this
think
year?
this year. I don't think this year.
Okay.
I don't
I was
think they're
just
gonna be able to
curious
do it
because
this year.
there was some guy, I'm trying to think where he was. I think it was Washington or Oregon. I forget his name, that I swear like 3 years ago was pushing for Ghost Superdwarf
Yeah.
stuff, and I don't know who it was. I forget. But see, that's another example, like, how many times, Rodney, have people told you they're gonna do Superdwarf Anthrax?
Yeah.
And it's like, how many exist?
Yeah. None.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just it's crazy. It's crazy. So I think the challenge is to anybody watching this is like, if you have an idea of what you want to do and you're scared of competition, just do it. Like, in my opinion, there's not even competition like in this space. You know what I mean? Because like, there's people that are focused on the cow project, for instance, but you can even take the cow project a couple different ways. There's GC cow, there's normal cow, there's the pecan stuff. There's all different kind of ways to take it. And then there's the percentage side. So it's like, you can work the percentages. It's like, there's no such thing, in my opinion, as competition. You just laser focus on what you want to make, right?
There's
um
120 super dwarf retics on Morph Market. That's it.
Is that it? That's
120
not
super dwarfs is what you said?
Yeah, that's it. That's what's on
That's
Morph
it?
Market.
The rest are
Really?
mainlands.
Yep.
Wow.
So that
Okay.
wow.
1,000 number that you guys talk
Wow.
about all the time, and you say that's crazy low, all I think is, yeah, but only 120, 130 of those are super dwarfs. So there's
Yeah,
Yeah.
no competition.
that's really low then.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, look at the purple project. It's one of the most like saturated projects out there, and if you want a high percentage purple right now, you can't find one.
Yeah, I don't even think there's any just purples on Morph Market that are super dwarfs right now. Like, I don't think there's one.
Hmm.
They're
Wow.
all either snows or het purples.
Yeah. Go
Hey,
get you some het purples.
how many regular super dwarf tigers are on there?
Probably a few.
Like one of the best selling snakes on the
Yeah,
planet.
there's probably a few on there, I believe.
And yeah, but how many super dwarf super tigers are on there, which would sell even better?
Yeah.
Probably 0?
I think
Yeah, I haven't
Andrew
seen a
might
super
have one.
tiger.
I could be
I haven't
wrong.
seen I haven't seen a super tiger in years, I feel like.
I've got one.
Andrew's got
Do you?
You do,
Yeah,
a
Darren?
platinum tiger up.
yeah.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
got a super tiger, super sunfire platinum.
Oh, okay.
Wow.
Three shades of yellow. Yeah.
Is your
Yeah.
stuff on your page, Darren? I need to like
Yep.
look at your stuff again because it's
Yep.
been a long time.
Yep.
I need to
Yeah.
look
He's
at your
called
stuff.
George. He's called George.
Yeah. Yeah, there's just like a lot of like simple things that would be selling if people
Yep.
had them right now, and it
Yep.
just Yeah,
Well, what
it's
happened?
crazy.
I mean, that's the thing, because I felt like when I bought my stuff, 3.5, almost 4 years ago, I felt like there was a lot more variety and a lot more just quality available. I don't know what happened,
I
you
think
know?
everybody kinda just went the same route, but I well, for a recessive to get to that 75%, I mean, that does take some time. You are looking at some years, and I think the newer people will do it. I don't see a lot of, besides Eric and a handful of people, I don't see too many older heads even putting in the time right now to do that stuff. So, yeah, I think it's gonna be
Yeah, I don't
more
know
of
what
a
it is.
yeah, it's gonna be more new people carrying the torch for that kinda stuff. But, yeah, like, I just think it's crazy that I know Andrew, he wants to make, Superdorf Annery Super Tigers. He's like, "Man, if I had a group of those," he said, "they would sell so well." They would sell immediately, and just yeah, so I know he's gonna be trying to make some of those sometime soon. But yeah, just tigers, super tigers, purples, it's just not
Henry
available.
Tigers.
Someone
Yeah.
someone put a beautiful, was it a Harlequin tiger up on the group the other day on one of the
Mm.
groups? That was an
Oh, yeah.
incredible animal. Yeah,
Hmm,
Yeah.
that was stunning.
Yeah, there's something
yeah.
about like the tiger look, like the classic tiger look. The Anery tiger is one of my favorites. Like a really
Yeah.
nice Anery tiger is just killer,
The
I think.
Moschino tiger.
Mochino
Yeah, those
tiger.
look good.
Oh, hell yeah.
I've got a 14-foot one of those.
Yeah?
Yeah, yeah. I've got this 93.75% dwarf. She's like 90% super dwarf. Richard Bilbo line with reach out, and she almost looks like a tiger. She's a visual
Mm,
Anery normal, but she almost looks like a tiger. And I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna have to work this and make
yeah.
some really, really killer tiger, Anery tiger stuff somehow. So yeah. Um well, cool. Let's go around the horn. Let's wrap up. Give your guys kind of final thoughts on just the community. Plug your stuff again, your handles, and yeah, we'll go around the horn one more time and just talk about kind of the future, what you guys want to see out of yourselves, out of the community, and we'll go from there. So, Darren, I'll give you the torch.
Yeah, well, I'm Darren Mark on Facebook, on Instagram. I do have a YouTube under Darren_Retic.
Mm,
I put a few videos on there. There's not very much on there. It's just like more for me, sort of thing to show friends at work and stuff who hate snakes and just frighten them. My biggest interest right now, and I think I raised this in a comment to Rodney a while ago. I'm fascinated, and I'm fascinating on temperature and humidity whilst incubating, affecting the pattern and the colours of a snake.
mm,
Because the way I see it is they're the variables. The egg goes into the box, and the variables are the humidity, the heat, and the number of days it's in that box. For instance, I know someone that sent me a photograph of reticulated pythons bred in the US in a separate incubator and separate sides of an incubator. And obviously, the temperature, the gradient was different within the incubator. You would not have thought those snakes had come from the same clutch. The color parity on the box that was in the right hand side, they were bright orange, and the snakes that were in the other side were very dull and washed out.
Hmm.
So to me, I
mm.
think the variables being temperature, humidity, and time in that, I think that there's a guy in the UK. He did a live cutting of his eggs that he bred some retics, and he got one of my good friends Sam Phillips to like oversee it, via a video call. And every egg he cut, Sam didn't have the heart. Sam was nice, didn't have the heart to tell him you cut these too early, because every snake he cut open. I mean, there was a Motley Golden Child in there. There was tigers. There was um, um, Motley. Oh, I forget what it was, but he had a massive variation of snake. Every single snake when he cut the eggs were white. So he'd cut them too early. Sam didn't have the heart to say to him, "Look, stick them back in the incubator for 10 days, and we'll have a look again." But the thing is, there's so much variation with those variables involved, and I'm doing a lot of looking into that because I fascinate on things. I'm 55 next year, and I've just been diagnosed with ADHD. So yeah, they'll probably explain a lot of how I'm like I am. But yeah, little things like that, the scientific side behind it, I think is fascinating, and that's something, I'm a few years away from breeding yet, but I want to get as much information on those variables as I can and I'm quite prepared to, I'm a gambler. I'm quite prepared to use two incubators, slightly different temperatures for the same clutch, and see what happens.
Well,
See if there is a variant.
I can tell you'll get a major difference in size of hatchling.
Okay,
The epigenetic effect on embryo development definitely is, you can see it for temperature and humidity. Like, if you run, hot temps and low humidity, they'll
yep,
hatch out noticeably earlier and they'll be significantly smaller. Whereas you
okay,
run high humidity, low temps, they'll be a lot bigger and they're gonna take 2 to 3 weeks longer. And I mean, it's gonna be noticeable, like 25 to 50% heavier.
okay.
Um, if
Have
you
you
get
noticed any color difference or
so
pattern difference?
sometimes if you get a little too low, I know you'll run into some pattern stuff, but you can also run
Okay,
into some other issues, some kinks. What would be
sure.
interesting to see, and I don't have the balls to do it. Have you ever looked into those experiments where they've exposed seeds to magnets and then let them germinate?
I've seen it in the cannabis industry
Yeah.
video.
Yeah,
Yeah.
throw a magnet in an incubator and see what that'll do. I guarantee it'll do something.
Oh yeah.
It'll do something to those snakes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna hurt them, but I mean, I know it might change the pattern. I mean, if you throw it
Yeah.
in a magnetic field, it might have an impact on embryo development,
Mm,
so that'd be interesting.
yeah.
That's an interesting point you bring up, Darren. I wonder if other people have done that same experiment before.
Yeah. I mean, I've mentioned it a few times, and people are like, "Well, it's nature, and it is what it is, and you get what you get." But I think that there's many ways we can alter it. I mean, I'm reading now a lot of people, they're actually bringing their incubation temperatures down. From it was 90 and then it went to like 88, 87. Some are doing it 86, 85 now, and I'm just wondering if, like Rodney said, it's lower temperature, a little bit longer in the egg, let the pattern develop more, in the egg.
Hmm.
If you're going to get a brighter snake, or if you're going to get those thick blacks, or it's got to be there's got to be some kind of scientific study to it somewhere.
Yeah, if you start getting below 86, you'll start having issues though, so I
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
yeah, I'd be
Right.
careful
Yep.
going below 86. But yeah, it's
Okay.
usually typically for every 1 degree lower, you're looking at 3 to 4 days longer incubation
I
time.
think someone said, yeah, roughly 5 days per degree
Yeah,
difference. Yeah.
it's noticeable, so yeah.
Okay.
Hmm.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting. Well, awesome, Darren. We've loved having your perspective on here, and once again, you've been a great, I think, asset to our community over here in the states, which has been awesome. Let's go to you, Caleb.
Yep. So once again, I'm Caleb, uh, the Serpent Shed on all forms of social media. I'm on YouTube as well. I haven't made any like actual videos, just doing shorts or reels, whatever they're called on there. Um, yeah, I just want to see higher percentages, no more 50% single gene animals being overproduced like the mainland community. Sorry. But higher percentages, hopefully better husbandry as time goes on. It keeps getting better. Hopefully we keep on that trajectory. Um yeah, that's I want to show that, like I said at the beginning, that these animals are a lot smarter than we think they are, and they're not big vicious animals like some media shows. I won't name names. But yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, Caleb, once again, you as well. I mean, it's been really cool to see kind of your journey and your start and just how supportive you are of other people. And so I just want to applaud you for that. I think you've done a fabulous job coming in, and you've picked up some just great stock, some great animals. And so anyway, I'm excited to kind of watch your journey unfold. Let's go to you, Dylan.
Yeah, I'm Dylan. You can find me at Pacific Tropicals. I still don't have a YouTube yet, but keep an eye out. It'll probably be under Pacific Tropicals or something like that. I'm gonna get around to that soon. I'm a computer science student, and we're really deep in the semester right now, so it's just starting a YouTube channel is too much for my head.
Yeah.
Um, as far as what I'd like to see from breeders, I kind of have two messages. One, just if you're a new breeder getting into this space, please stay the course. Like I think a lot of what Spencer was talking
Oh,
about
did we
with
lose
where did
Dylan?
these in
Oh
No,
no.
Oh no,
he just froze for a minute.
gotcha. Okay.
He
I
literally
think a
just
lot
froze before his major
Yeah,
point.
before his big reveal.
here he comes.
Yeah, he's stuck. He's Mr. Roboto. Oh man, that was epic. Dylan, you
there, am
there?
I back? Am I
Oh,
Yeah,
back?
you're
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
We were just making
we
fun of
Gotcha.
you.
Okay.
Okay, go
you
ahead.
stopped
Yeah.
where you were just
you were
about
like
to tell
this.
us what you wanted to see.
Yeah. What I'd love to see from new breeders is just if you're a new breeder in this space, please just stay the course, because I think a
Mm,
lot of what Spencer was talking about with like where did these things go, I think it's people quit and sold them and
mm,
gave them away, and then bloodlines get lost. And with the super dwarfs, like we're losing so much more than with any other species. With like if you have a 75% recessive like Rodney was talking about, and you are planning on breeding that thing and you don't, and you might be one of the only people who was gonna breed it. So
mm,
please stay the course, breed it, so that we can move this hobby forward and this our little section of the hobby forward. And two, I'd love to see more, kind of what Caleb is talking about. I think we need to do a better job of showing how cool retics are, because like I think we get
mm.
caught up a lot. I heard you talking about it a couple episodes ago, Spencer, with the Instagram hand video where you just got the snake on your hand, and I'm guilty of it too. That's like all my
Yeah,
videos is just showing off how pretty this snake is. That doesn't really show anybody how cool these snakes are. It doesn't really
Yeah.
show anybody what we love about retics, because I'm sure it's not just they are beautiful animals, but they're intelligent, they're inquisitive, they're one of the few snakes I've worked with that I feel I've genuinely developed a relationship with the animal, and
I
it's
agree.
not
Yeah,
just an
yeah.
acceptance of me.
Mm.
There are some of them I have that like me. There are some of them I have that aren't sure. There's one that I have that does not like me. Um, and so I would really love to see from the people, just you don't even have to be a breeder to do that. Just more content kind of showing what's so cool about retics.
Yeah. No, I love that. And the interesting thing is I I there was somebody, I don't know if it was on a podcast or maybe it was just no, I think it was just somebody in the next gen group where we were talking about, we were talking about people putting content out or the kind of content or whatever, and somebody said, well, not everybody should be putting content out. And I agree on one side of that, but on the flip side, I'm like, it doesn't matter who you are. If you own a retic and you love your animal, like, and you want to share that, share it, and I think there's not enough, especially like long form content, there's not a lot of long form content getting put up on YouTube.
There's a lot of
And
shorts, isn't there?
there's a lot of shorts, and I'm guilty of it as well. I can crank out reels and shorts. I love it, but
Yeah,
yeah, the long form takes a lot more, and that's why it's taken me 3.5 years to just do my enclosure build video, because it's
yeah.
it's a lot to edit. It's a lot to go through. But so I mean, I would encourage people. Don't feel like you need to be perfect or make it perfect for you to post it, because there's people like Darren over in the UK that are watching everybody's retic content over here and interacting and sharing and posting it. I know you, Caleb, you, Dylan, as well, do a fantastic job of sharing other people's stuff. And it's like, I feel like it's I feel like it's almost a duty as a keeper or breeder, if you love these animals and are passionate about it, to help expose these animals to other people, and to create that exposure and to help other people understand these animals more, that they're not, big and scary and always dangerous, and and getting people over those fears, I think, is a really big part of kind of our responsibility as keepers. And so um everybody I feel like just needs to do their part in sharing positive, impactful experiences and content. And I think that's how we really change things. And we, when Rodney and I kind of put the next gen page together and we started doing this podcast and everything too, that was our big thing, is like we didn't want to filter people. We wanted an open platform where people could share their insights, their opinions, their feedback, and they weren't going to get judged for it, or and there was a place for everybody. So anyway, I'm just really excited kind of about the future of what everybody's doing. And I really care about a lot of the keepers, a lot of the breeders, a lot of the people that are passionate about their animals, and just wanting to help them, in our own way, just helping support them, helping getting them exposure. I mean, that's something that's really important to me. So anyway, no, this has been an awesome podcast. I think we're going to have some really good clips from this as well. So anyway, all you guys stay tuned. If you haven't joined our Facebook group, Next Gen Retics on Facebook, and then on YouTube and Instagram, it's under Next Gen Retics as well. So appreciate you guys. We'll see you
Yeah.
for episode 6.